pretty nonstop, and I've been responding to a lot of questions just as they go on Discord. But I will draft something up. I I suppose for this group, the kind of key theme of what I'm writing up is just a more. They're my personal thoughts. It's not by any means the official policy of Automata. Um, in fact, we're still discussing internally to what extent we want to, allow, support, prevent various forms of automation activity. But I think you guys all know that we are quite supportive of the idea of co-creation and co-development, and it's a core aspect of the ethos behind this on-chain gaming development. We want people to be able to build dApps, services, DeFi, game mods, things that enhance gameplay experiences. For me personally, where I start to draw the line is, are those services available to a wider audience? Are they providing more of a utilitarian function to everybody in the ecosystem? And that doesn't mean it has to be free. Like, we want you guys to create programs and be able to charge people. And we've supported programs like the Pit Stop, Jeeves, and I guess there were some that I wasn't as aware of, but things that allow you to automatically refill your resources and things like Score. Totally supportive of that. It's completely open to the public. Anybody can use it. Maybe you charge a transaction fee. Again, no issue with that. It's broadly accessible. It's when there are private programs that are deployed that provide a significant advantage to the developer and a significant disadvantage to the masses that are playing the game, that I feel it's necessary for us to step in and take some kind of action, because at the end of the day, we do still want balance. Now, with all of that said, I guess I also want to emphasize that what we built in escape velocity was, we knew it was not bulletproof by any means. That went through multiple iterations. It went through a longer life than we initially anticipated, though it was doing quite well, so that was justified. We were able to test for a lot more things than we originally planned, and that included enabling us to unlock the R4 economy and have R4 produced in escape velocity as a supplement to things like claim stakes and the new Armstrong miner ships. But we made a ton of compromises when we were going through game design, because we wanted to get something out to you sooner than later. And the only way we were able to deliver something in April was to make those compromises. And that's not really the approach, certainly not the approach that we're taking longer term for our products. And again, it was really more of a trade-off of, do we want to ship something now, or do we want to make this limited time feature as bulletproof as it can be, which extends the timeline to delivery, and then it starts to blur the line of, well, is this a movement test, or is this a testing environment more broadly, or is this more of a gameplay feature, or something that's intended to be persistent? And given that it was intended to have a short life, the decision that I personally made and that we made collectively was, look, we're gonna just kind of roll this out, see how it goes, and we're gonna keep building other stuff in the background. So that was a kind of a long, rambly answer there, but hopefully that speaks a little bit to the underlying ethos. Again, we're interested in co-creation, we're interested in co-development. Totally fine with people creating apps and services that they can monetize. We just don't want anybody to have an unfair advantage through the exploitation of a game system, particularly one that was short-lived.
Cool. I have another question here, Swag.
Okay.
It's from Sheldon, and it's about the. He's asking about the difference between mining ships versus claim stake. Could you explain the different use cases for them?
Yeah, I think we'll probably discover a lot more use cases as we get into the future, but I would summarize them simply. The way I think about them is that claim stakes are really far more of a passive function, wherein you can identify a location that you want to set those down on land operations, and allow that mining equipment to operate on your behalf. So kind of like how claim stakes works in, faction claims right now, with the exception of, there will be more configuration potential, being able to select components, upgrade items, pick the exact location and planet you want to mine on. So there will still be choice there, but uh, that's in opposition to mining ships, which do come with, we kind of noted these in the Medium article, but the ships, first and foremost, in the present state are dual function, the only ships to have dual function, which means you can either use them in place of a faction claim to mine R4, or you can use them in faction fleet. So the only ships presently available that allow you to be fully self-sustained. You can produce your resources, consume your resources, and then earn Atlas with those and swap back and forth based on whatever is most valuable to you at that time. This was also pretty important for us given we did feel the necessity to deprecate escape velocity, and so wanted to provide some more optionality for people on how to produce R4. But going into the future, what really differentiates them again is that claim stakes are stationary. They're in a fixed location, and they are not highly mobile. As it's designed now, you would be able to deconstruct those, collect the materials, transport those somewhere else, and then restake your claim somewhere else. Although there would be um, some resources that are lost in doing so, whereas your mining ship is able to navigate anywhere that it wants to go. Now, it's only able to mine asteroids. The mining ships cannot go onto a planet and mine planets. So that's one key difference. But you do have that mobility of being able to quickly get in and get out of various locations. And where I think that's going to be very useful is at some point when we do launch the high risk zone, where all of the most valuable and rarest materials exist, you can actually dart in, mine, and then get out of there as quickly as possible. So you have a chance to, guys, I think the server crashed. Nope, that's good. But dart in, get your materials, and get back out. Now, it's not impossible for you to mine in the high risk zone with your claim stake, but given that that is intended to be permanent asset destruction, if it gets destroyed, where you lose that NFT entirely, um, it would be pretty risky for you to plant a claim stake. You would have to defend that, and then anytime if you were not there, not present, it would be at risk of getting destroyed. So I think those are the core differences. Um, strictly land operations, more passive income where you can go do take other actions in the game versus um, versus flying around, getting in and out, and mining exclusively asteroids.
Yeah, that last one is a big difference in my opinion. Like just having to protect your claim stakes at all times, and with the mining ships, you can technically just run away from where you are, or just go mining asteroids with them. So I don't know. I think it's a key difference.
Definitely,
Uh,
definitely. I think it's like how nimble, how mobile do you want to be, versus how passive do you want your mining operations to be. It's
mhm.
kind of the active versus passive argument. I might need to close this multiplayer session down, guys. I'm getting a lot of noise in my headphones right now.
Yeah, and Dom is not even able to enter a ship right now.
Oh
It's
my
kind of sad
god,
to
I've been
see.
trying for like 10 times, dude.
uh,
All right, it was a good try. It was a good try, but I am completely frozen here, so I'm going to close this session.
who else would like Michael to stream a racing where he shows his skills, or if he's paying someone to get him on the leader?
You want me to do it live?
Yeah,
Maybe we don't fly ships, but we join a session and we just do a big photo shot of just
Can do that.
something different. But hey, racing's cool. If we all
Yeah,
had sorry, but
yeah. Well, we can go do the photo shoot thing. Let's save the racing session until maybe towards the end. I do want to be able to answer some more questions for people here, and I don't think I have the mental capacity to race and respond to questions at the same time.
I was expecting you had, man.
I'm
But
not that
people are
good, man.
saying if it crashes again or something, you can feel free to create a ticket, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
Santi, can you point me to where the ticket service is?
Ah, come on. Everyone knows already, man. um, cool. Let me see if there's any extra questions here. If you guys want to post.
I saw one. Ruben was asking, will the Sage map get bigger? So we have like 10,000 tiles now. Will there be more tiles? Will there always be tiles? I guess that's the question there, Michael.
That's a good question. So the scale on Sage is likely to, well, sorry, the tile system is likely to stay the same. It's not impossible, but the scale of the way that the solar system layout works best with this, 100 by 100 or 101 by 101 tile system that we have now. However, the scale of your ships on that map will change. The fidelity of the assets that you're interacting with are going to get significantly better, and things like movement speed are going to change completely. Those are parameters that we configured specifically for escape velocity, in terms of the range that you could travel, so distance you could travel, as well as the speed of your ship. Those are all configurable, and we kind of customize that for the implementation of escape velocity. But it is not expected that you should be able to travel from one side of the map all the way to the other side of the map in, I don't know, 30 minutes or whatever it would take to get. I guess it would be, what was our cooldown? Was it 60 seconds or 30 seconds on movements? I think it was 30 seconds on movements. So
30.
yeah, okay. So 50 minutes to get from one side to the other. It should take longer than that. So I guess the answer is the map doesn't need to get larger. We can change other parameters, and the distance traveled and the fidelity of the assets could mean that you're actually moving a shorter distance, but the map feels larger.
Gotcha. Cool. I have another question. This is from Jaywalk. He said, when can we expect the first Atlas syncs in game?
In game, probably, well, you will be consuming resources in rec. At inception, you're going to be consuming food and ammunition. So to the extent that you're not producing those resources, then you will need to consume Atlas in order to continue operating your fleet. So that is an Atlas sync. I really think, though, it's probably going to come in the combat version where we'll have activations of things. I think, this caveat here, or a little footnote here, I think by the time we get to combat, which is the release after resource extraction and crafting, is when we'll have things like warp lanes, we'll have the cooldown timers on when your ship is destroyed that you can shorten by spending some Atlas. And I guess one thing I would point out is that, the marketplace has supported Atlas transactions since inception. That is, in fact, a direct Atlas sync today. That is Atlas that is being utilized for the purchase of goods from another player. And to the extent that that player isn't just immediately liquidating that, that does in fact become an Atlas sync, if you will. So I don't remember the full list of all of the Atlas syncs that we have planned out. They're in the Sage game manual, but the two that stick out to me, I know for a fact, are warp lanes, which are a direct expense, as well as the cooldown timers anytime a fleet is destroyed. And again, those are either combat or sometime after combat. But I think it really depends on how well rec is received, and we'll probably start planning fairly soon for what the next feature development to be included in the version after rec is going to be.
Nice. I see another cool one here. What's the pace of gameplay for Rec, and will player profiles be enabled?
I can answer the latter one. Player profiles will definitely be enabled. So the and maybe I should start seeding this out there right now. We've made a slight transition in the naming. We're not calling it player profile anymore. We're currently calling it Star Atlas account, but it is actually, in fact, going to get its own customized branding. this is really this primitive has evolved into an extremely comprehensive feature set for Web3 account management, and I've described it as kind of your passport into Web3. Um, without going too much farther into that, it is going to be kind of your account management system for all environments across Star Atlas. So if you're, taking actions on the marketplace, if you're logging into Sage, if you're interacting with a DAO, those are all things that you're going. Maybe. Well, it will, I just don't know when, will be fully integrated into Unreal Engine 5 as well. And any other products that we release are going to be leveraging our Star Atlas account system, which is a hierarchy of accounts, characters, names. It will include the integration into the DAX system as well. So really comprehensive hierarchy that allows you to manage all interactions with the Star Atlas universe, but this is also a tool that could essentially be leveraged across other game applications in Web3 or even DeFi applications in Web3, for example. So without going too far down that track, for us right now, we're really excited about Star Atlas account and what you're going to be able to do with it. It is, we have 2 programs that are rolling out that have the Star Atlas account as a dependency. So that is the DAC platform, and that is Sage. So it will be online before both of those go live. There was a second question there, Santi. I think
Yeah, it was about the pace for the gameplay for Rec.
the pace. Okay. And I also one more thing on player profiles or Star Atlas account is that in Rec we're not using that for character progression, so you won't have the leveling system and you won't have XP yet, but it will facilitate that as we implement that feature in the future. In terms of the pace of Rec, I honestly can't really tell you right now. Santi and Dom were on the call that we just had with the tech demo. So what we have presently is the full backend system through something that we call our team's calling Sage Lab. So all of the interactions between all of the on-chain programs and all of the game logic that's coming along with Sage, we're able to replicate that through real on-chain activity today. And we have some really solid progress on the front end. Right now, I have not seen any demos as of yet that speak to the pace of gameplay, so the actual on-map movement. So I really can't give you an answer to that, but I think that piece is going to be tied together relatively soon. And then the other component that our team is working on is the middleware architecture integration. So moving from the game front end through Starcom into onto the blockchain and having all of those actions reconcile with what you're seeing on the front end in the UI. But I would say if I just kind of had to speculate here for you all, it's not going to be incredibly fast paced. I think we've given you a high level presentation on what the gameplay mechanics are going to be, but it's you're spawning at a central space station. You're able to configure fleets. You'll be able to use all of the real ships that you have in your inventory. You'll be taking those and exploring the map. You'll have full freedom to explore through the entire map of Gallia. You will be able to mine any asteroid across the entire map. However, you are responsible for your fuel management, so it's conceivable as of right now that you could become stranded if you run out of fuel. You can explore into opposing factions. The one thing you can't do is dock to any starbase that is not your faction's starbase. So if you explore into an opposing faction area and you extract resources from there, you will need to get back to your faction's starbase to be able to do anything with that. The crafting system is another one that the team's already completed a ton of work on, and I can tell you it just looks absolutely gorgeous. I personally think that part's going to be a lot of fun, and that's kind of the passive strategy management as well, like getting a bunch of resources, bringing that to a starbase, and then starting the crafting or construction of a bunch of components. And while that's taking place, you can go out and harvest some more resources. That's the core gameplay loop. Allows us to tie in the player profile, the fleet management. I keep calling it player profile. The startless account, the fleet management, the movement systems, and extraction systems and crafting systems. So it's kind of like 5 core components there that are coming online for Rec. And I will also say that the UI of this is significantly over enhanced over what you've seen in Escape Velocity. So expect something drastically different. Still somewhat light on gameplay mechanics, although we do have those 5, but a lot more to come.
We're all UI.
Yeah.
Classic. We're bringing it back.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. I have
UI
another
first.
question. Is there a chance that faction fleet is turned off completely during Rec if it's successful? Not waiting until the full implementation, the full game of Sage. And then there's kind of a secondary question here, if I can find it. Yeah, let's just start with that one, actually.
All I will say is that it is being discussed.
Cool.
Actually, I'll say a little bit more because it's me.
The CLO.
No, it is being discussed. I think it's actually quite viable for us to at least start to transition into a deprecation of faction fleet as we get Rec out. I think that that would be viable. The one outstanding concern that I have right now is we have to reconcile where Rec is going to be with a full access to fleet management and the way the game is going to start when we get into Sage V0, which is the progression and leveling system that allows you to lock higher tier assets that you can use, right? So what I don't want to have happen is I care very much about the value of the ships that people have purchased or the assets that people have purchased. And I do believe that they should continue to be productive assets. And if we get to, in fact, this was an extremely long discussion when the decision was even made, which was a big compromise of gameplay mechanics versus value production. And that was okay. Well, if we don't want this to be completely pay to win, and we do feel that there needs to be a system in place that allows people to progress and earn the right to use their higher tier assets, my pushback was okay. Well, we have to have a method for people to continue to find utility in the larger tier assets, because that was not necessarily a restriction on day one, right? And you guys know we are building this ship as we fly it. So there's a lot of things that we discover as we go that we need to work towards resolution on. Well, so my side was okay. Well, we have to continue to provide utility to these assets in some way. And that's where we came up with this system of loaner ships, where if you have a larger class ship, you can provide that to the faction and you can borrow a smaller ship against it, and there's a whole scale behind what you're able to borrow. But we still need to determine, like, to what extent are people able to borrow ships, and how extensive can they be utilized in the game, all while trying to ensure that we're not encouraging people to create multiple accounts so they can actually get the use out of them. Now, and this is one of Danny's big sticking points is, and mine as well. We don't want to force you into creating multiple accounts just so you can enjoy your assets. Like, you should be able to work out of one account and accrue all your value in one account. And whether it's exploitive or not, we don't want you to have to be driven to multi-boxing or multi-accounting. So, with all of that said, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we need to figure out how much utility will exist for all ships, and if we're not able to provide maximum utility for all ships in the deprecation or in this transition to Sage in the future, then we need to keep faction fleet online, because at least at a minimum that is a way that we can generate revenue and income and value for ship holders until we get to the point where they're fully usable in game. Calros, yes, all ships are usable in Rec. The difference is when we get to V0 of Sage, there is a ranking and leveling system that will disallow the use of higher class category ships, larger ships, until you rank up to a sufficient level. And so just because it works in Sage doesn't mean it will work in V0, and so therefore we need to plan for the future.
Cool. One thing that would be cool here is if anyone is in the session that Michael and Dom are in, if they can stream as well, because Dom's stream is full. So just so we know what's going on in the UE5 session you guys are on.
I've been distracted answering questions, but so I'm not in a session right now.
Okay. Cool.
What do
Let's
I
see.
look like, man? Armani? I can't play 8 games at once and talk at the same time.
Yeah, man, it's multitasking. It's difficult. Funcracker is asking if when player profile goes live, if it will be a big event, medium article, people being able to repick their faction, etc., or if we're going to just launch it.
I mean, I don't know that we'll. Certainly, we're going to have a lot of documentation and articles available informing people of its full functionality. Um, I don't know that it's an event that will be celebrated per se. I mean, we see a ton of value in this, not only in how it's used in our ecosystem, but again, its potential for more broad access to the idea of interoperable digital environments, the metaverse. But you know, from a user's perspective of the feature, it's like, okay, well, you guys just figured out how to create accounts. That's been done for the last 30 years or 100 years, you know, like, so there will be a lot of configuration that's possible to you. We'll explain what all of that is and we'll have documentation, but I don't know that it's event worthy per se.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a question. It was somewhere up here. How long until we have a game server, and is it possible we see some sort of gunplay in the showroom soon, like the sneak peek shared a while back? This might be a Danny question, but I'll ask it anyway.
Well, more of a Danny question. I think I saw Brad join. But I can speak to the server side of things. But I don't actually want to share any details on when that's coming just yet. But you guys have heard me in interviews talk about the team that we're working with for this authoritative server support. That's the backend server architecture that allows us to have hosted dedicated instances. So we are working on that right now, and it's looking quite good. Brad, did you want to comment on either the server architecture or on the gunplay?
All right, Brad, you're into the fire right now.
That's being
Man, you
put on the spot, right
you
there.
shouldn't have left that mic open, man. I saw your face. That'll teach you.
Yeah, how do I? You guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, as far as gunplay, again, I'm not authorized to talk about timeline.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not imminent. I will say that.
Okay. Yeah. Probably something
Um,
we've pushed
4
out.
to 6.
yeah,
I can jump in and save you there, and just mention, like, guys, we are heavily focused on this racing gameplay modality right now. So getting the authoritative server, getting the competitive combat racing, getting progression and things like ship configuration as soon as possible. So it feels like you're really being rewarded and earning, not just in the form of Atlas and resources, but you know, you're building your account and you're the earliest and first adopters of the game, and you're going to have the level advantage and benefit of being the earliest adopters. So we are focused heavily on this multiplayer gameplay loop right now of racing, and yeah, otherwise we have some other exciting stuff in the pipeline.
we sure do.
But really, Brad, when gunplay?
Yo, what sniper? Actually, when can I have a sniper? And he leaves. It's
He goes
fine.
4 to 6 too.
uh,
Yeah, we are working on some cool, fun game modes, but we're focusing on adding more ship game modes before we start adding gunplay stuff. So
I love that insight. Thank you, Brad. Santi, do you have the next one, or you want me to read one?
You have one, read it, bro.
Okay, where was it? I just had it. Sorry, give me just 2 seconds. I literally just had it, but I accidentally pressed jump to present.
Tooth is gonna die.
Oh, here's one. This is another one that I'm not sure if Swag is gonna be able to answer or if Brad is gonna be able to answer, but I'll ask it anyway just in case. What release is the first opportunity for us to level up something? Ships, modules, crew.
That is probably going to be the 2.2 release.
That's exciting. I can't wait.
I see another one. Will Rec have the 3 zones?
It will have the 3 zones, but there's no combat. So that's what I was describing earlier. Is you're able to go navigate your ship into any opposing faction zone. You can even mine those zones, but what you won't be able to do is attach your fleet to a star base, which is where you can undertake any crafting operations. So if you go to an opposing faction and you harvest resources, you will have to take them back into your faction to refine and craft.
Cool. I have a question on the DAO, and this is from Support Line. My question concerning the DAO in Pip 1 is how malleable will it be before sending it to voting? I got the community really talking about the council and that process, and curious if that will be addressed and if we can have a strong say in how we want it to work, since we've been discussing the process in which we would like and feel familiar with, since it was player discussed and criticized to an extent already. That was a long question. There it is.
So how malleable, as in before something goes to official vote? Am I getting that right?
Hey,
Yeah, I'm just
yeah,
seeing if
basically, basically if it's getting addressed, whether in Pip 1 or Pip 2 or something like that, like, are you just, like, saying, like, this is how it's gonna be and it's, like, minor tweaks and then it's being sent? Or is, like,
Oh,
here's our idea, you can just completely change it and then we'll, like, push that to being voted?
oh yeah, yes. Totally. For PIP 1, this is just our proposal to the community on how we think it could operate. So if we have a strong position about any component of that, we'll explain and justify that position. But this is completely open for debate. We're not saying this is how it is and just accept it. We're saying this is what we think it should be. This is why. If you have ideas on how to improve it, that's what this whole next phase of the process is about, is opening the forum for discussion. And that'll be true for all pips, is there's intended to be a period of debate and discussion. And sorry, I gotta kill this guy. But a forum for debate and discussion before it passes on to the next phase of ratification and implementation.
Okay, I have a question here that is getting a lot of this reactions right now. If ships run out of fuel, do we need a refuel specific ship to save it? This might be a Danny question, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, all ships are aggregated in a fleet when you can construct those in Sage. So they essentially all share resources. So you would not, at least in Sage, as it's designed right now, you would not need to refill an individual ship.
Another question here: are there any plans for mobile game play of any kind? Sage, for example, will Sage be a mobile game?
I think it's viable that Sage becomes mobile friendly. You all have heard me talk about the mobile companion app before. We are going to be officially debuting what that mobile companion app is at the PlayGG event. I can tell you it's not a mobile iteration of any of our existing environments. What I think is very promising, by the way, on the mobile front is the idea of the remote rendering, so GPU farms, and being able to stream this data to your mobile device. So, if any of you have ever played Stadia, played with Stadia, you would know what I'm kind of the type of system that I'm referring to. But I think Unreal Engine gameplay on a mobile device is certainly feasible. I think that's coming sooner than later. Working with a company like Render would probably help deliver that exact functionality. The thing that we have to resolve specifically for our game and for Web3 is how do we ensure that user accounts, i.e. Crypto wallets, are secure without sharing or passing a seed phrase to a remote server in any way. That's been a topic of discussion. I think our team's making some progress on that, but I don't know exactly where we're at. But yeah, I mean, Sage being a browser game, I think totally reasonable to see that as a mobile app, and the Unreal Engine product using some GPU streaming service to mobile device, I think that's possible. But otherwise, our mobile app is companion. It ties into assets within the ecosystem, but I'm going to save any additional detail on that one until PlayGG.
Cool. People are asking if the cat is okay, so I
Yeah, she hasn't said anything yet, has she?
yeah. Tigu, if Tigu is okay.
Michael, is it true that if you run out of fuel midway across the galaxy, you die and lose all your inventory since we are in the medium risk zone?
Yes, it all goes back to the house.
See?
No, it's
I
not true.
told you guys.
It's not true. There will be you'll be able to hail a ship to come and bring you fuel. We expect that to be a service. I'm really trying to kill this chi. I don't know if anybody's watching right now, but
I'm watching. I was about to comment that you were doing quite well with the multitasking.
amount of ammunition here though.
Did you get the chi? Did it
I got the
explode?
chi, yeah.
Nice.
Evasive maneuvers.
There's talent here, guys.
Do a barrel
Be
roll.
careful.
Where's the
Well,
fuel going to come from?
people will produce it. They'll craft it.
So do they sell it to the Dow, and then the Dow puts it on this rescue ship, and then the rescue ship goes out to save people?
No, you'll need to hail real players to deliver fuel to you. You'll be able to put up a beacon, a rescue beacon, and people will need to come and bring that to you.
That's amazing. That's really great clarification.
Oh, there's a question for Jose here, since Jose is here. Can we get Jose to turn the lore wiki into a narrated audiobook?
That sounds cool.
Jose, just a
Yeah,
extra small thing to your plate, bro.
yeah, man. I think I have almost nothing to do in the company right now. I'll start this project.
Besides Dom, I think you're like you have the least to do.
Ah, here we Yeah. go, dude.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding. I just want to commend Dom, Jose, and Santi. These guys are absolutely busting their ass every day. Doing a really great job working with you
Yeah.
guys in the community, in and out, but also advocating on your behalf all the time. We have a lot of discussions about the interests of the community, and I have to say they're always looking out for you guys. I share their sentiment most of the time. I'm looking out for you too, but I have a slightly different perspective than them sometimes. But nevertheless, they're doing a really great job. So really appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Oh
and same
man,
goes
you're gonna make me cry.
to Darwin as well.
And Darwin, yes, yeah.
Yeah. You trying to make this an emotional brew again, man?
Oh man, you want me to cry again or what, man?
I try, man. I try.
uh,
Cool.
I see a
Uh,
question here. Unless you want to read it, Santi, you got it? Or
the one that has 3 dis.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want
go for
I
it.
want to
Yeah,
read
yeah,
that
do
one.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Swagner, what is the thing that you are the most excited for this year?
Um, it's really hard to say. I mean, we have so much that's already making such great progress. I mean, honestly, escape velocity was that's not what I'm most excited about, but I just want to comment that I think escape velocity was a pretty incredible hit. It exceeded our expectations, and so I think with that as a building block and engagement point and way for us to build velocity and momentum, it was fantastic. But I would also note that the I don't know if the whole team shares this sentiment, but um, I think with the uh, kind of conversion or transition of the strategy into things that we know, like escape velocity, that yeah, they're not a full game. They could be a lot better. It's not our final vision, but it's something that we want to get into your hands to at least play test. It gives us an opportunity to collect information, but it also gives you something to use and something to do and something to talk about. I think it's seeing the success of that, and the metrics that we're looking at and being able to share that with a team. I think it's actually a really great driver of internal morale because the whole team knows like how good the stuff that we're building is, especially compared to something like escape velocity. And they're like, man, if escape velocity had the impact that it did, just wait until they see what comes next. And so everybody's highly motivated and like just really pushing super hard. But for me, I don't know. I mean, there's three things. We've got the DAO coming with our proposal first, but ultimately that gets into community generated proposals. So to me, that's extremely exciting. It's a step towards decentralization, allowing your voice to be formally heard, and being able to utilize the mechanism that we've proposed and talked about since the beginning, which is community governance, to effectuate this change. I'm like super excited about that. I also think and Santi, I don't know, or Dom, or Arthur, I don't know what your guys' opinion of this is, but I mean, there's a lot of kind of questions or go so far as to say demands from the community in Discord, and this is a way for us to be like, look, if it's something you feel very strongly about, get a proposal out, right? There is a
True.
process for how these types of questions get addressed. And it's not so we can just shirk those off and not answer them. Of course, we'll still, be providing that Discord support. But if it's something that people are very passionate about, they have an opportunity to present that formally and it can actually be implemented for change. So I think that's powerful. I think what we're doing in Sage is going to be a ton of fun by the end of the year. But overall, we are building a game here, multiple games at the end of the day. Um, I'm a big, MMO fan. I've been playing MMOs for like 30 years, probably 25 years, and getting the progression system in place with the competitive combat racing, where you can feel the real tangible value of progressing your account along and having those bragging rights of being a certain level, being able to upgrade your ship and your components and customize things, and also being a racing game fan. I'm really excited for R2.2. I think that's probably top of my list, but we're just doing so much. It's like really hard to pick and choose like what's the best, but yeah, 2.2 is probably my pick.
Yeah, man, that's when we will know who the real pilot is. Super excited for
Me.
that one as well. And just to add to what you were saying, Michael, I think it's important to note that all the releases this year have been going towards more power to the user and just giving that to the community. Like you were talking about the DAO and how a forum like Discourse and being able to vote on things that the community feels are important just actually helps boost that on like the power that the user has. and formalize more ways of the community being able to give feedback directly to the team, because that will be a perfect place for the team to know how important it is something for the community, right? Since people will be able to upvote, downvote, or just comment on the proposals, and it's just everything is shaping for that, and every release we do, every iteration we release, is a step forward on that long-term vision on absolute power to the people, basically. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I mean, just to elaborate on that slightly, like it is going to be a process too. They don't expect we're going to get the governance online and proposals are going to start coming out, but yeah, I don't want to necessarily refer to bureaucracy. Hopefully, we can have a more streamlined and transparent process. But the reason why bills take so long to get through the legislative process is because it needs to go through a lot of discussion. So there needs to be compromises made on all sides of the table. And so getting to the point where everybody can agree upon on what is the most appropriate action or change or use of treasury funds, things like that, it's going to take some time to get um, to a resolution on defining that in the first place, and then further, especially to the extent that we're talking about feature development here, or something that requires engineering resources or team resources, that is still going to be a process. We have to get that built into our own prioritization within our own pipeline and determine how these things are going to fit with our general roadmap, which is extremely complex and well planned as it is, and shoehorning new things in, especially if it's with any level of frequency, is going to be a challenge. Our team is going to have to figure out how we can start to implement and integrate things like feature requests. But yes, Santi, you're absolutely right. I mean, it could be as I would say as simple as something like, hey, these are the three things that we could work on. What is your preference, right? And put that to vote. And we would outline what the features are, what the implications of those features are, and again, based on community sentiment, community feedback, we can then start to prioritize what comes next in Star Atlas.
Yeah, that is huge. Huge. I see another question. I think this is a cool one. How much will be real on-chain transactions in REC? And do we expect a lot more on-chain transactions and movement? When I say movement, I mean volume in on-chain transaction, amount of on-chain transactions in REC.
Yeah, well, it will be a lot more. A lot more of the mechanics, I would say, are going to be on-chain transactions. I don't know exactly right now what that translates to in quantity of transactions, but again, looking at the program architecture, we're talking about the Star Atlas account system itself. So there's going to be a little bit of a setup process just for you to be able to establish that account. That requires a number of transactions and some of the configuration that can take place within your account itself. And then you get into REC, and you can start to import your ships from your wallet. The ships do, by the way, need to go into this program. It's kind of like how Faction Fleet or Score works right now. You technically are depositing your ships into this program, and that's what allows you to participate in Score. Well, your ships need to leave your wallet and go into this program account, and so that in and of itself is a transaction. How you take those from the CSS and turn that into a fleet, that's a transaction. When you extract resources from an asteroid, that is a transaction each time you do that. Using these resources in crafting tables and crafting components, those are transactions. So uh, inventory management is also a transaction. So there's a lot of different mechanics. What I think will probably change is the way that the movement itself works. So again, you're not going to be moving around grid to grid or sector to sector in the same way when we get to REC. And also, this is where someone from the game design team would probably be they would have more granular information, but the differences between like intra-sector versus warping, um, not every movement is actually going to be an on-chain transaction. So going from point A to point B, if you're within uh, a solar system, for example, you can, or within a sector, uh, within that sector, you won't need to uh, submit an on-chain transaction, right? It's when you're going from sector to sector. So if you're leaving a region, or if you're warping longer distances, those would be on-chain transactions.
Okay, so that will reduce that amount of transactions from the movement significantly, right?
That's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it increases in a lot other areas, basically everything else. So yeah, I think that was a great answer, to be honest. Very detailed, as Cal Rose is pointing out in the channel. Let's see. This one might be a bit tricky. I don't know if you have the answer, Zach, for this now, but will there be a snapshot for faction fleet badges so that we can move them to rec?
Yeah, this is a question that's been asked a lot. And I really don't want to provide misinformation on this, but it's something that I've chatted with Jacob about on several occasions. The reality is we do have all of the on-chain data. So without taking a snapshot, we can actually look at your wallet history and make a determination of how long each asset that you own has been enlisted in Faction Fleet. Now that it is a lot of work, you can imagine that's a lot of transaction history to go back through, since December of 2021, but it is possible. So in that scenario, we don't need a snapshot. You would be able to withdraw your fleet from Faction Fleet at any time, and then when we're ready to deliver the badges for participation in Faction Fleet, we could pretty easily do that. But we just need to reconcile the on-chain data, and all the on-chain data exists, which is an action of you depositing a fleet or withdrawing the fleet, right? Uh, so I don't know if that answers the question in totality. I don't know exactly when we're going to be doing all of that work, but even if we were to say we're going to deliver badges at some point later, then you could theoretically withdraw from Faction Fleet at any time. It won't matter. We use the on-chain data to reconcile that at some point in the future, and then once we get through that process, we can just airdrop it, assuming that whatever wallet you used in Faction Fleet is the wallet where those benefits would go. That's the only caveat there.
Cool. Cool. Another one I see here. Someone is saying, I know the mining ships mine asteroids, but will there be planets available for claim stakes to mine in rec?
I'm sorry, man. The
Yeah, I
game
think you crashed, right?
crashed on me again, and
You
it's
you
just
will need to go to the task manager for that one, or
yeah,
open a
yeah,
ticket. Feel free to open a ticket, man.
yeah.
We
Okay,
will get that sorted for
you're
you.
gonna be getting a few tickets from me on this one. Sorry to whoever was in that session. Okay, can you repeat the question?
Yes. So the question is if there's going to be planets available for mining with claim stakes on rec.
No, there are not. This is only asteroid mining.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Let me see. Someone is saying, I think this is a joke question, but if Tufa is made of asteroid rocks, that means the IMPs can mine them.
Good question. Good question for game design.
That'll be a cool gameplay loop to add. We'll let Chip figure that out.
Maybe Jose knows the answer to that one.
Jose knows everything. You need to learn that first, Michael.
Man, we really shouldn't talk about that.
Honestly, the amount of information that I try to absorb on a daily basis is probably like 2% of all of the information that's coming out of the company. It is so many people on the team are like so much more sophisticated and knowledgeable about any particular component of development at any point in time. I do my best, but man, there is just an outflow of information that is um, uh, just a floodgate.
Yeah, man. And I feel that, like us in the community team, we need to try to be on top of everything, um, both internal and both things that go out externally. And whew, it's quite a lot. It's quite a
It's
lot,
yeah.
especially this week. This week has been crazy. Uh, and I gave this example in the chat a couple of times, but I took vacations last week and hopping like to work on this week. It was like hopping on a bullet train from through the window. It
Yeah.
literally feels like that. But it's awesome. It's addictive. We were chatting with the boys about that. It's addictive. We love the fast pace here, so it's a lot of fun.
It's wild. It's wild. Like I said, I didn't even know about, like, apparently V2 configs were being worked on for months. I didn't even know about that. I need to go and read the lore wiki now so I can get up to date on lore. It's there's yeah, there's just so much happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's super exciting.
just drop a random lore fact, bro, right here. A random lore secret, putting you on the spot.
I can tell you that the question that you asked me to answer is one of the most massive things that happens in the startups lore.
The Tufas one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I'm not going to ask you to expand on that. I want you to keep your job, Jose.
Exactly. Yeah. If Danny knew we were talking about this, I would get in trouble.
Yeah. Let's see if there are more questions for Michael or for anyone. Will help beacon for refuel assist be visible only by faction members or anyone in range of it? There you have the pirates asking those questions.
Again, I don't know exactly how that mechanic's going to work when we get there. I think I saw somebody ask about whether or not there will be a rating system, and we do want to have a rating system in the game. So, this would be applicable if you want to hire somebody to deliver um, uh, goods for you as well, right? If you're going to transfer assets into somebody else's ship, well, are they reliable? Are they actually going to deliver them to the destination, or are they just going to steal them? And I think we would likely impose some mechanisms that prevent just outright theft of those items. But part of the rating would be, are are they actually capable of delivering it to your destination without getting destroyed? Because if that destination happened to take them through the high risk zone and they were not qualified to go through there, or they haven't been competent at navigating safely through the high risk zone, then perhaps you don't want to employ that pilot, right? And that whole rating system would go directly into the price that you pay. If you identify a pilot that's extremely competent, delivers 98% of the time, you know, but they charge 3 times as much, it might be worth it for you to pay that fee over somebody who's taking their first spin through the high risk zone and you don't know if your goods are going to make it there or not.
Man, that's gonna be awesome. I'm
Man,
really looking forward to seeing that part of
this
Star
is
Atlas.
massive. Yeah.
I know the friends from Bulk are going to have a fun time with that, probably trying to get the 5 stars rating. I see a question on Rec about Rec. If the mining and movements are going to be on the UI similar to EV, like clicking on the menu and on those options, or if that's going to evolve.
Um, Again, I haven't seen an actual mining action in the UI take place yet, so I can't say exactly what it's going to look like, but conceptually it will be the same. I think Carl Rose was asking a question about, like, is this a mini game when you get to mining? The answer is no. You're pulling up to a destination. You're able to identify the resources at that destination and then decide what you want to mine, but otherwise it's click, mine this, and then probably what you'll be doing is, moving to another fleet that perhaps is in a different location and managing the mining layer there, or going back to say the CSS or a Starbase where you have some crafting operations ongoing, and you'll be updating those or harvesting whatever the components are that you crafted, and then restarting that process. But it does start to feel a lot more like RTS, where you've got a lot of things going on at a lot of different locations, and of course this depends on how big your fleet, how many ships you own, which is kind of your capacity inside Rec, given there's no limitations on importing any of your ships. But you're going to be bouncing around the map and managing operations, but the individual operation itself of, say, mining, you're not out there with a character like picking at the asteroid, right? Or even your ship. It's select the resource you want to gather, hit collect or mine, and then move on to the next thing.
Nice. I see another question. How in depth will the transport operation be in the first iteration of Rec? From Puck the Parrot. Shout out to the guy who stole my arc.
How in depth will the transport operation be? As
Yeah.
in, I mean, you're not going to be employing any other people to move resources around for you. If that's the question, you will have inventory limitations within your fleet, so you'll be able to fill up to maximum capacity, and then you would need to take those back to again a Starbase or the CSS, deposit those at that location. Which, by the way, these are all on-chain coordinates, and all of those are on-chain location-based, geo-locked assets. So if you deposit some assets at one Starbase, you would have to go pick them up and transport them back to the CSS if that's where you want them. And if you want to take them out of the game, which, as I said, like when you deposit your ships into this program, that is how you enter into the game. If you want to pull resources out, you have to transport them all the way back to the central space station, and then you can withdraw them into your wallet, and then they would be tradable on the Galactic Marketplace.
Cool.
Does that fully answer the question?
I think so, yeah. I have another one here. I'm not sure how detailed we can be on this one, but if they're asking if you can get a little bit more into detail on the mining process with the new ships, how that's going to work. Like if you will have to send the fleet, or can you go with just one fleet and start firing asteroids? Like a bit more on the specifics on how those are going to work.
I don't have all of the specifics on that for Rec just yet either. The mining ships will have an elevated extraction rate. As I think about it, they probably also will not consume ammunition. So the way that we're able to conceptualize and implement quote unquote mining for every ship, whether it's a fighter or freighter or bounty hunter ship, is they're using ammunition, they're blasting these asteroids, and then they're gathering the resources that are coming off of those. The mining ship probably will not consume ammunition, so that would be one lower cost center in the operation of a mining ship. You would still be consuming food for your crew, and otherwise the mining ships will have an enhanced extraction rate, because that is specifically what they're for, extracting resources from asteroids.
So they are going to be a lot more effective, of course, for mining and extraction than other ships, basically.
And I just want to be very careful about saying a lot more. I don't know the numbers yet. We don't have the numbers
Okay.
for exactly how much more effective they will be just yet.
Yeah, cool. Let's see another one. Maybe this is a little bit super specific, but how long will it take to get from one end of the map to the other in Rec?
That I
It's
also don't know. That I
probably
also
one
don't
for
know.
chip.
Yeah.
3 hours, 7 minutes, and 5 seconds.
There you go.
There you go, guys.
That's
Fact
4
check.
hours and 26 minutes.
Yeah, you missed an opportunity on that one, Dom.
My bad.
I think it. I think. This is again me speculating, but I think from conversations I've had with that team in the past, it's expected to take like 1 day to get from one side of the map to the other.
Oh, wow.
That's huge.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
So that would be like
Other-
24 hours of gameplay, by the way, not just like one day of a couple hours. It's 24 full hours to get from one side
Oh,
to the other.
wow.
Wow.
Depending on your ship specs, or it's something that's general?
That's a great qualification. Some ships are faster than others. So probably the average ship takes one day. If you happen to have a very fast ship, you can probably get there faster, although you would also be constrained by fuel consumption, right? So you need to make sure that you adequately refuel yourself along the way.
This is awesome.
Cool. I just want to get a disclaimer in real quick here, Michael, that a lot of what we're talking about is game design and it's subject to change. So
Yes.
just in case people are taking all this to the grave, this is going to be how it is. No, definitely things change when you develop like we are developing. So just in case, wanted to get that in.
I mean, we haven't changed anything in the game yet, but yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. Just let me do my disclaimers, Michael Wagner, please.
It's even likely.
I think that one went over everyone's head. Not something v2 configs yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just changed a couple small things, right?
Yeah.
Not
Details.
like the whole chip's configuration. There's another question here. Will Sage B0 feel like a continuation or evolution from all the tests, or will it feel different? I'm guessing like if it will be a test and feel like a test, or will it be like a full game, kind of like more feeling like that?
Oh no, I mean it's going to feel like a real full game by the time we get to V0. I think what we're going to see is a pretty dramatic difference between EV and where we arrive with Rec. It's already going to feel a lot more like a game. This is just based on the backend systems that have been demonstrated, as well as what most people see, which is how does the user interface look? How do the interactions look? How do my assets look in the game? We're going to see a pretty dramatic overhaul just between escape velocity and getting to resource extraction and crafting. But the next step beyond that is going to get us closer to the game, and then keep following that path, and ultimately we get to the V0, and the V0 is when we have the fundamentals of what the game ultimately will be, and probably look and feel is very much like what the long-term game is going to look like.
Cool. I got another question. Is DAC registration and leaderboard going to be this year?
DAC registration, yes. I
When you say
believe
leaderboard, are you talking about DAC leaderboard? I'm guessing he's talking about DAC leaderboard. So yeah, sorry.
most likely, let's assume yes. And the leaderboard is not coming out with the first version of the DAC, but we just went through a prioritization exercise on that. I think we're adding leaderboards to the next release. So most likely a yes on that one.
How do my assets look in these jeans?
Stunning.
Oh.
It really gets my imp tip excited.
I take it that all or most of the items will be made available to the players. E-Slicer, I'm not sure if you were talking about Rec or UE5. If you want to just give that clarification. Rec. Okay, he's talking about Rec. So yeah, he takes it that all or most of the items will be made available to players in Rec. Is that correct, Swag?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, so the question is, will all or most of the items be made available to the players in Rec?
Of which items? Like,
Are you talking about made by the players? Will all or most of the items be made by the players in Rec? Sorry about that. I misread your question.
Okay, so by most of the items, like you won't be able to craft things like ships, for example, which is, at some point in the future, people will be able to use blueprints to craft complete ships. Non-origin ships, you can think of them as like Gen 2 ships. They're not going to be able to craft claim stakes or any of the assets that are available for sale right now. What people are going to be crafting is a set of components. These components are going to be redeemable in rec, or they could even be retained for future versions of the game where these same components are also going to be necessary. When I'm saying components, just one example is like a framework. A framework is a component that would go into crafting of other items, right? So like multiple phases of crafting, taking the raw resources, refining them, crafting a component, using the component in another blueprint, and then being able to ultimately craft some bigger item. For example, starbases will require a certain amount of frameworks for you to be able to construct a starbase when we get to the full territorial control component of Sage.
That's sick. Cool. One other question I had here was, will our ships in rec be full models or still clay?
They should be full models. I mean, you guys have seen most of the ship models in WebGL already, so you can use the Sage Hangar to look at the models. Now, I think there's a few WebGL models that are not complete yet, but I would need to circle up with Danny on where we're at with that specifically. But yeah, WebGL fidelity, it's similar to when you know, that feature that everybody loved where you could go inspect your ship and it would take you out into space and you'd see the lobby. That's how they would look. Although the level of detail on that lobby was admittedly quite low. Again, that was for performance, so I would expect to see those in higher fidelity as well.
Nice. Will I be able to see other players' ships in rec, or is it going to be that tile thing where you kind of see that red number?
It's a good question. So this is really more of an infrastructure question, and we do want you to be able to see other ships. The question is on player density. So because it's many players with a lot of ships, there is a point where we need to condense player units based on the density of players in any region in the map down into some simpler version. So that it could mean that if you're looking at the entire map, for example, all you can see is a kind of like a tooltip or a tile that says, X amount of ships with maybe a pixel. If it's you and one other ship in a region, then, or one other fleet in a region, then you can see that other fleet. But there is a scaling component behind this where the level of detail, the fidelity changes depending on how many players exist in a particular region. I don't know what those breakpoints are specifically, but the backend team is working on how that's going to work so we can deliver a performant experience for everyone.
That's pretty cool. Here's a question. Might not be able to answer. Might be more of a Danny, Chipto, Brad question. When will we see non-human characters in UE5?
I could probably answer that. I don't think we're going to share that information right now, but I've seen a ton of character models that look really good. Uh, so probably soon.
See, will the number of players mining a particular asteroid affect its emission rate?
Another good question. I don't think so. I don't think so in rec. But what I will clarify, because the next immediate question might be then, well, why don't you just mine the asteroid that's closest to the central space station? There will be diversity of resources on asteroids, so you will find different types of resources depending where you're exploring. There is also one object that is only discoverable through scanning, and it is also a requirement for these crafting. So there will be a requirement to explore the map, search for this object, but um, also again, depending on which asteroid you've selected, you're going to have access to different materials or different resources.
Cool. Another question here is, are the asteroids finite?
They are not. No, not in this.
And then another one I see is, when will NPCs be usable? I'm guessing he's talking about crew members.
Technically, in Rec, you do have access to your crew members. They are a part of the crafting process. So the way it works in Rec, and possibly in the next, probably in the next version of Sage as well, is that your fleet and crew members are all wrapped into a single asset. But if you have a ship docked at a starbase, while it's docked at the starbase, then you have access to the crew members associated with that ship based on, you know, the crew members that you would have on a fully staffed ship, to be able to perform crafting functions for you.
Nice. Will the assets be the same on everyone's map?
Yes, this is a universal map, shared instance.
Ooh, those are all the questions that I see besides this one. Are any asteroids secretly Tufa? But it wouldn't be a
Wouldn't
secret
answer,
at that point, right?
I wouldn't answer that either way. Grist, we're doing everything we can to ensure that you do not get server lag when you're all in the same location. That goes back to the response I provided about level of detail scaling, depending on how many units are in the region. So everything kind of downscales when we have more active players in a zone, because then we can serve up all of that data without slowing down performance. And POC, most likely not. We're not, there's no, outside of the mining function itself, there's no custom specialization for different ship specializations within Rec.
Yeah, Groove Swag's taking my jam right now.
Oh man, I'm just, you know, took my attention off the game, so.
All right. Here's a unique one. So, like, which role on a ship would you like to take over?
Which role on a ship?
Yeah,
Like,
like a gunner, pilot, janitor.
oh man, I don't know if people know this, but I bartended way back in the day, so I'm a
Oh,
mixologist.
mixologist. Wow. Okay, sure.
I used to throw down some mean martinis, man.
Uh, what is your favorite resource and why?
Ask Jose.
Josette?
Man, my favorite resource. Hmm, I would say Lumanite. It's a special ore, natural to one of the factions zones, and it has some unique properties that allows it to emanate light and serve as batteries naturally. It's not something very rare, but it's an interesting resource. And since I don't want to get fired, I can only talk up to uncommon materials.
Okay, nice. Nice. Appreciate that, Funcracker. Funcracker said, "Just want to let the team know that they are awesome. Love the pace of releases and events at the moment. Appreciate this first of a kind, though sort of reminiscent of the very first Town Halls AMA/Hangout with swag. Great going. Thank you, Ronald. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, man, and really appreciate all the content you guys are and tools you guys are releasing.
Michael, let me ask you something. How do you feel about random events? This is more of a vision question. Like, for example, you are mining an asteroid and an event triggers, like, and it has different outcomes. Like, it can be something very good for the player or it can be a bad consequence. Can we expect things like that in the future?
Mm. Well, realistically, I think players don't necessarily like randomness with consequences. In fact, there's a uh, behavioral finance and behavioral psychology study that speaks specifically to expected outcomes and people's propensity to take risk. But so generally speaking, I think people are probably not fond of the idea of unknown consequence for exerting some effort, but could be fun. Could be cool. I'd have to think on that one a little more.
Jose almost caused a riot in one Atlas brew when he shared one of his ideas.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah,
it? I'm trying to
What
there
was
remember
is.
that
which one it
idea?
was.
Yeah,
But
it
There's been a
was.
couple. There's been a couple that people have been like, Jose, what the hell?
that one, bro, like we almost got killed on
Yeah,
stage. We had to
it
pull
was
back
super
real
fun.
quick.
Yeah, because in the lore of Star Atlas, the Woosters have a path of enlightenment.
Oh, dude, no, I was
And
riding
Oh
too.
no.
I was riding too right there.
yeah, and the thing is that this path of enlightenment allows the Woosters to connect with their collective conscience. But some Woosters, how can we put it? They don't deal well with the amount of knowledge that they get from. Let's say that they might go crazy. And I was telling them that maybe we could make into the game like you have a Wooster crew member and you want to ascend him unto an Elder, which is the last path of enlightenment. And we could create mechanisms to have like this crew member gets really, really strong, but or he could go mad and simply break in the middle of a mission, or even stop working, like dying, something akin to dying. That would
Man,
be super
I got
fun.
a side note real quick, but I'm watching Star Fox. Holy shit. Pardon the language. Check out his stream though. Like he's
Bro,
actually
we were on
cracked.
the voice chat yesterday as well, and he was just streaming, and he said, "Hey guys, you want to see me like break all the records in the leaderboard?" And he did one try on each, and he beat the records like on each of them in one try. He got to the first point on the leaderboard. So, yeah, talent, talent.
Swag has his work cut out for him, trying to get that #1 spot back.
Wait, did he move up? He wasn't in #1 on the ground racing track though.
No, ground racing no, because it was like 3 minutes, and we were like, eh.
Oh, ground
But all the
racing,
others,
man.
yeah.
I actually
Uh,
haven't seen Star Fox in a ground race yet.
Yeah, but
Good.
he's crushing it right now on the.
Yeah, I'm watching. How frustrating was hitting those asteroids the first time, like in R1?
Dude, I already have
Yeah.
6 holes in my wall right now.
I punched the wall a couple times, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dude, this is actually crazy.
Was that a record? Yeah,
I mean, it says new record.
that
Whoa.
was a record.
Let me see the
Yeah.
They're
leaderboard.
live.
Let me see the leaderboard. Which one is that? It's not
Zero?
okay.
Wait, he wasn't on. Yeah, it should be the FT race.
Oh, you're not second anymore in the ground racing side.
No?
No,
Oh
you're
man.
fifth.
Wait,
But
why
some
are
people
there
are getting
zeros?
zero.
Yeah, I don't know why the zeros are popping up. Oh, Ruben took the top spot.
I love how I'm second on this. And this
How
is
is
the
Dominic
flower.
second?
This is the second. I'm second on this, and this is the flower one, and I haven't found a single flower. I
Oh,
did write that down.
open a ticket, bro.
Yeah, I opened the ticket. Yeah.
Now we actually have a ClickUp form to report showroom bugs.
That was not a good landing.
Yeah, that was not steady.
Yeah, we're gonna work on the landings there.
Yeah, a lot of flying, not a lot of landing.
Yeah, they're still doing work on the VTOL system.
Yeah.
Swag, what aspects of ships will affect their effectiveness in wreck?
It's really well, it's probably speed, fuel capacity, and I guess to some extent your inventory capacity, and then mining rates. I think that probably covers it. I really quick. I wanted to go back to Jose's comment though on the like the outcome of taking this path of enlightenment. Like to me, that's that wasn't really what I thought the question was about. I think that is kind of cool because in a lot of ways, that's kind of like opening up new loot. You know, like you don't know what you're going to get necessarily, but if you look inside of a loot box, you know that you have a chance of getting some possible outcome. So I'm actually supportive of that idea where you can allocate a crew member with the chance of negative consequence. That I think is cool. I'm actually into that.
Wait. I think you missed the
GG
part.
Hold
family.
on.
Wait. We're
GG
going to
Hold the
have
family.
another
line here,
riot.
bro.
We're going to have another
Hold the
riot.
line here. I think
Yeah.
what was it, something? It was something along the lines of like once you reach the final stage of being an
Bro,
Ooster,
it's like
you
grinding for 2 years.
you have like an
Yeah.
80% chance of just like your
No.
character just sits
I
there
don't
and
think it
turns
was
into a
80. I
statue.
don't
No,
think it
no,
was
no. I never
80%.
said it was 80% chance. Come on,
No.
Dominic. No.
It
Okay, my
wasn't
bad.
80.
Said it, bro.
Okay,
But
my bad.
just a 1% chance of you losing a character that you worked on for 2 years.
Yeah,
Bro,
no,
I lose
please,
that
bro.
character and I'm gonna go
Are we
find
gonna argue
Jose, you
about
know?
this again? Because
Bro,
I'll bring out the notes that I had, bro.
bro. That's life, bro.
That's a lie. 99% chance to enlighten, 1% chance to lose your whole character.
Yeah, man. And I think totally fine, to be honest.
At that rate, I would probably take it. But 2 years is
Yeah.
a long time. I think that's too long in game time.
Yeah, I don't think there will be characters 2 years old, maybe.
Uh,
Dude,
What if it
yeah,
was this? What if it was like your character dies after 2 years, and then, or and then you have to take the chance where you can actually get uh, enlightenment, full enlightenment. But the odds then are definitely skewed, right? Where maybe your character dies after 2 years, but if you go down this one path, if you've reached a certain level of achievements, then you have a chance of going full enlightenment and actually saving that character.
Oh, wow. So you have your character has 2 years to live, and you have 2 years to reach enlightenment. Oh man,
Something like
that's
that.
different.
Yeah.
I never.
Crazy
I
stuff.
don't know. I don't even know what I think about that.
yeah. That's like a movie, man. You can make a movie out of that.
Michael, how do you feel about crew members having like lifespans?
Well,
This
I mean, this is a topic that I would largely put in Danny's camp. We've actually talked about this quite a bit. I think it's kind of cool. Um, but in that scenario, you're treating your crew member very much like a temporary consumable resource, right? You're kind of like using up their life during gameplay. Um, I also let me expand because what I'm still trying to reconcile with Danny specifically is, for me, the MMO experience is about a singular avatar that I emotionally connect with, right? Like I'm not going to connect with 200 crew members. I want to play one character. That's what I want to progress. And so now that's theoretically possible as it's designed right now, but you can also swap. You can change and take the persona of any one of the crew members that you possess, and you can level them all up individually. Um, but I want my progression to go one place, and I want my crew members to level up as well, but I want my core avatar to be who I am. Um,
Oh man, has anyone ever played XCOM or XCOM 2? Oh, it's a game where
I
you
have
like
not.
have you have a crew of people, and you're like doing these missions, and it's a strategy game, and you get crew members, but they can die on missions, and you don't get them back. I would get
like
pretty attached to my crew members, and when they died, I would just
You
I would
cry.
I would cry, bro, for
Yeah,
real.
you can say it, dude.
You can say it, man. We can give you a hug.
my
Don't worry.
my boy Bobby 32 died, and I was like, man,
bro, that's
I had to go get a bottle of wine, dude.
Oh
guy.
my god,
This is
depression.
something that I always like to say. Like things have meaning only because you can lose them, or like life is pressure because you got only one to live. If you live it through the eternity, nothing would hold much sense. So the more we make things in Star Atlas like appealing in terms of, yeah, this is the character that you built for how many years. He has your traits. He reflects your decisions. He got your skills and training. The more you fight to protect him, and the fear of him dying and things like that. This will move your behavior in game and drive attachment to them, you know? So, in my mind, the more we can make this experience where players feel this, man, the more the game will be real for everyone.
Yeah, and imagine if on top of that you can create like a bio for your character, you know,
Yeah,
and give it more
totally.
life,
Totally.
man.
I don't think you guys realize how many ships I have. That's the problem. See, like I've got too many crew members. I can't take care
You're
of all
just
those
like, hey,
people.
man, get to work.
Yeah.
No, but then Michael, you have like you can make like your generals, admirals be the ones that you connect, and those guys will be the one training the second generation NPCs, you know.
Yeah.
So this is just bring Michael's army to a whole new level, and you are like the warlord of the galaxy that has their mini bosses ruling all those crazy guys, you know.
So this is where, just to maybe finish my thought, like one of the things that we do want, like Danny in particular wants to differentiate us from something like a Star Citizen is like not that full space sim experience, right? The simcade. So we want to eliminate some of the uh, what I don't know, the burdensome elements, the management elements, and allow you just to go do the thing that you want to do. And if you're constantly worrying about crew members dying, like that's not fun for everyone, you know. So I think that's where we try to strike the balance. I do like the idea. I won't use the term breeding, even though I just did, but I do like the idea of crew procreation and then training and like having that whole separate gameplay loop. I actually think that's really cool. Um, so it's I think if you had the procreation element, then you could have the dying element, and you know there will be crew members that die through high risk zone, so it's not completely out of the question. Um, but do we force players to exercise life management on top of all of the other game systems? I don't know what the answer is right now.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah,
complex.
we can maybe have we can automate this, right? If you don't want to be the one dealing with this, but I feel that something like an example here, right? You said that you would like to be a mixologist. I think that if we can create a career focused on mixologists, this can become a very interesting gameplay loop on its own. Like, you can focus on being a mixologist, so you get your air bike and you fly out across the galaxy, gathering very rare ingredients throughout the planets and training your skills and presenting them on different planets and things like that. So it opens up another door that those are the players that don't want to, do space fighting or economy or anything, but they just want to become the best mixologist in the galaxy, you know? And I think this is a super fun thing on its own.
I actually have another question for you, Swag, and you kind of touched on it a bit. Here, where's the question? Michael, do you still follow EVE Online and learn from their hits and errors? And I want to kind of like generalize this more. Like you talked a little bit about Star Citizen. Are we learning? Are we taking a look at other games who are maybe a little bit similar and just learning from their mistakes?
On a personal level, not in like one of the only games I'm playing right now is Destiny 2, as you guys know. And I'm super late to the game on that one, but people on the team got me addicted to it, so now I'm actually spending time doing that. But I haven't played EVE Online in forever. Um, what we do is specifically in the econ department is the analysts pull together a report for us, and we're looking at all different projects across Web3, games specifically in Web3, and then also analyzing traditional games. And we're leveraging information about their successes and failures to help make decisions. So in a way, the answer is yes, but more in an academic format versus my personal experience in those games.
Cool.
Cool. Uh, Actually, just I don't want to be the guy who ends the party here, but we are over the time we had scheduled. I need to leave myself, but I don't know, Michael, Dom, if you guys want to stay, I can just say goodbye. Um, but yeah, we are over the time scheduled, so just want to be respectful of your time, Michael. But if you guys want to stay, please feel free to stay.
Are you going to allow us to stay in your room, Santi, while you're gone?
Maybe, I don't know. It probably every minute I'm not here, it's like one police.
It's like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Let's just take a few more. I could kind of get on with the evening as well. It has been a pretty crazy week, so why don't we just take a few more questions here, and then we'll wind this down. Wouldn't be the same without you, Santi.
Okay, yeah, I can stay for sure. Let's see if there are more questions then. Checking the chat now. If anyone wants to unmute, I think you can unmute as well. That'll be cool for the last questions.
I have a
Friday,
question
pizza and
for
wine.
I have a question for Star Fox. What are his system specs?
I don't know if he will speak. I actually met Star Fox in real life. We met in Paris. We have a picture together. And Star
Yeah,
Fox has one of the coolest edits that I've seen from the.
Nah, no way.
I
yeah.
want to shield that, man.
Oh, let me
I
find
just
it.
want to
Let me
say
find
bye.
it.
I want to say bye to Lloyd real quick. He's taking off. Pizza and wine sounds good. Have a good weekend, man.
See,
Uh,
Lloyd, thanks for coming.
I'm trying to find the.
Here,
Yeah,
I'll find it.
you also hung out with Leaks, right?
Yeah, I met Leaks as well. Yeah, we met in the Netherlands. Yeah, I try to meet anyone when I'm out doing my traveling.
What do you mean? Leaks is me.
I was
You
gonna
met
say,
me?
so which member of the team is it, Santi?
So what is great? What the craziest part is that we met in real life. Von Cracker was there as well, and I don't know his name. Like I was calling, I was calling him Leaks.
This is
So
funny.
how did you know it was Leaks?
The Web3.
Oh.
I don't know. Actually, I
Oh,
don't know. Maybe they
mm,
were just setting me up. I don't know.
okay. This has been a
Yeah.
very valuable AMA for me as well.
Bye bye, guys. That was my journey at Star Atlas. It's sad it ends that way. Thank you, Leaks, for everything. Uh,
Whoever you are.
but,
All right, I'm gonna put Star Fox's image in the voice chat.
bro, that edit
Dude,
is
oh my god.
bro. When I saw that Dom just posted it in the chat. Like
Nice.
that's Star Fox right there, like next to the user character.
That's great.
He, that's a great edit, man. I was laughing so bad.
I asked him why he edited it, and I think he said that it was because there was no mud character, so he had to edit himself in. Respect.
He
Gotta
added
respect
himself
it.
in to represent mod.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Oh, third try. Let's go. What was your question? Let me see. Uh, okay, Swag. Here's a question. So that was a good point about the amount of knowledge it takes to stay up to date on Star Atlas. So now we have the lore page, but are we gonna have a page or source to convey all the needed info to new or concurrent players about everything in the Star Atlas universe, like Sage, UE5, economics, core, like everything, I guess. Is that something on
Yeah,
your mind?
I mean, I think that would you call it a wiki? I think
A
the wiki
wiki?
is the wiki is like where we want to start to consolidate information like that. Um, eh, I I I guess I would caution though, because things do change pretty rapidly. Something like historical, well, maybe not historical information, but information about state of the game would require a lot of maintenance. So it would, yeah, and Funcracker, just mentioned there. I think there's a lot of community efforts out there that provide information. So um, sure, we'd love to consolidate and provide like detailed tutorials and onboarding and what you need to know, but we do have the knowledge base, right? And then we have the wiki. And I personally lean on the community a lot, and just try to drive people to Discord, because I think people help onboard new users, get them informed, help educate them. And realistically, most people do not like going through and reading a ton of documentation from from my experience and kind of from what we understand on the marketing side. So I don't know that it's really the best avenue anyway. But certainly I think it's something that we can improve through time. It's just a question of how many resources do we dedicate to new user onboarding now versus when we get to a more permanent state of the game where it's a bit of a better value proposition from us to the user and better use of our time.
Interesting.
You were
Cool.
asking about the cat, and there she is.
Kepler, I do see your question about flying mechanics, but I think that's more of a Chip question. Or Danny.
Or Brad, if he's around still.
Oh.
I don't know if Brad's still around. I don't
Surprise!
see him anymore.
Nah, I don't see him.
No.
Cool. I think
Yeah,
that's
the only comment I can add on that is that this was they did refactor all of the ship physics for 2.1. So I'm sure this is not the final form of ship physics, but you know, this is probably the state of things for a little while at least.
sounds good. I think that's all the questions I see. I think it's a decent time to close here. If you guys are down.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions. Michael, anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, can we get a good speech, like a motivational one?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Can I open a beer and listen to this? Should I?
I've been drinking beer the whole time.
Wait, give me 1 second.
No way. Are you getting one right now? I have a Coke Zero next to me. Does that count?
No, it doesn't.
Monster.
Nah, no Monster.
You
Okay,
gotta
I
watch
have
out for
a
that
curd.
aspartame, dude. You gotta watch
Let me
out
know
for
if
that.
you listen to this.
Ah, yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
That's the
Sure.
first beer of the night.
The first of many.
The first of many. Cheers. Swag,
Cheers,
anything
mate.
to close?
Anything to close? Look, I don't know. I mean, it's I'm feeling personally just incredibly excited. Like we still have a lot of challenges in front of us and a long way to go, but um, you know, and uh, there's always going to be friction when you enable an open forum as we have from the start. We're not delivering to you a product, we're delivering to you an experience. And this is part of the experience. And the way that we like what we all um, consolidate around and center around is the idea of Star Atlas. And I will say, like, as exciting as it is building the gaming products and building the all of the dApps and programs that we're building, um, what is incredibly inspiring to me and encouraging to me is seeing success of things like the Star Atlas IP, the build program, and getting 45 applications over a couple of weeks and seeing some really amazing products come out of the community and just this idea, this collective of people that share a vision and share an idea and have created a community of people all over the world who don't know each other at all, but we're just sharing something together. We're sharing a moment in time together, and I think it's like more than whatever gets created here individually is what we're creating collectively together. And I think it's like just so incredibly powerful. I'm just grateful to be here doing what I'm doing and spending time with you guys here, spending time with people in the community, and we get to do it around something fun like building a game and in a way, you know, transforming what, you know, we believe the world can be through this experience. So I don't know. I just feel really grateful to be a part of this, and it's awesome. Appreciate all the support that everybody gives us and all the work that the team does, and I get to be the guy that just, you know, gets to be the face of it. So very cool for me.
I could
But
lift
thank
Yeah,
you
1,000
guys.
pounds right now.
yeah.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Swag.
Cheers to that.
Cheers, man.
We know it's not easy in your position as well, Michael. So we also appreciate all the hard work you do, man, and how
Man,
committed you are to the vision.
I just sit around and play video games, dude. What are you talking
Ah.
about?
He's on the leaderboard of Destiny 2, guys.
I already told you I can't multitask, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I'm just really grateful. I think we're building something extremely cool here.
Awesome. So with that, I think it's a good moment to go to the weekend, guys. And I appreciate everyone who joined here late on a Friday night, at least for me. And hope everyone enjoys the weekend, gets some drinks, some pizza, and hangs out with their loved ones as well. So yeah, thank you guys for joining, and see you soon.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
guys.
weekend.